Yesterday they were 5 stars. Today they're freshmen ready to make an impact. We're talking about the top recruits from the 2025 cycle that are about to become impact freshmen on the field this fall. I got the guy behind the rankings here at Rivals, Charles Power. We're going to break it down, but first, do me a favor. Hit subscribe to the Rivals Recruits channel. It's free. I don't ask you guys for much. Jump on board, hit subscribe. All right. Charles Power wrote a story on freshman All-American team. You guys can go read that on the front page of On3. We'll start. Why not start right at the top? Number 1 quarterback, Bryce Underwood. There's no doubt, Charles, he's going to make an impact for Michigan this season.
Yeah, Bryce Underwood, the former number 1 overall prospect. I think we knew that he was likely to be Michigan starter the second he flipped from LSU to Michigan late last cycle. I think one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks that I've evaluated in my time of doing this. Just kind of a freak show physically, huge arm, plus athlete, 6'4", 230. I think we're going to see Bryce Underwood under center at Michigan this fall very early on, and I think it's going to be appointment viewing just given his talent level, and it's going to be really exciting to kind of see the progression he makes in his first college football season.
Yeah, and after the years of watching Jeremiah Smith as a freshman, Ryan Williams, Ryan Wingo even, there's no doubt if you're naming a number 1 wide receiver, you're expecting him to play early as a freshman, and that's exactly what DeCorian Moore is going to do at Oregon.
Yeah, if there's a receiver or even a skill player in this group who could have the Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams type of impact, I think you have to start with DeCorian Moore. He is kind of in that tier in terms of like he would have been a 5-star if he was in the 2024 cycle. Just outstanding athlete, great ball skills. We saw him make a bunch of big plays in Oregon's spring game. I think he projects as perhaps Oregon's number 1 receiver this year. And you're talking about a top 5 program with a true freshman coming in as perhaps the number 1 receiver. I think there's a lot to be excited about with DeCorian Moore, and I think he's going to be making a ton of highlight plays this fall.
Yeah, and there are 2 former 5-star DBs. Let's flip it over to the defensive side of the ball for a minute here. DJ Pickett and Grayson Littleton, they are trending toward not just making the 2 deep, but maybe they're going to start the season at the top of the 2 deep. We're talking DJ Pickett, Grayson Littleton. What do we like about them coming out of high school?
Yeah, so DJ Pickett, super physically talented. And I think when you look at the expectations that he comes to LSU with, I mean, they're hoping that he is a Patrick Peterson, Derek Stingley type of impact player. Both those guys were recruited and coached by Corey Raymond, LSU secondary coach. He has those same expectations for DJ Pickett. I mean, this guy is listed at 6'5", 195 on LSU's roster. So he is kind of a rare body type at corner, just super athlete, and a guy who I think we're really excited to see what he looks like in the SEC as a true freshman. And Grayson Littleton was a top 50 prospect for us last year. And anytime you see a true freshman nailing down a starting job or trending towards a starting job with on the number 1 overall team in the country, like that catches our attention and raises eyebrows. And he's just he's a technician. I mean, I think he's gonna probably be the starter at Texas in the nickel, and he can just really stay with receivers downfield. He has great feet, given what he showed in high school, it's not shocking to us that he has made this type of impact and assimilated to college football so easily early on.
All right, let's, as I said, stay on the defensive side of the ball. Another player that's buzzing out of camp over in Athens is Elijah Griffin. And, he was the number 1 player in an absolutely loaded state of Georgia last cycle. Elijah Griffin, we fully expect him to see some meaningful snaps this season.
Yeah, Elijah Griffin's the best defensive lineman prospect that I've evaluated probably in the last 4 or 5 years. And this is a guy who I think has the potential to have a Jalen Carter type of impact at Georgia. Now, of course, we know Georgia has a very deep defensive line rotation. So, I think they're always rolling those guys in. So the snap counts might not be super high relative to some other guys who are starting as true freshmen. But I expect Elijah Griffin to make a huge impact throughout his career at Georgia, starting this season. And I think, just some of the reports of what he's doing in workouts, the type of athlete he is, are kind of mind-blowing, but honestly that's similar to what he showed in high school. So this is a guy who has immense potential, and we viewed him coming into college football as the highest rated non-quarterback in the 2025 cycle. So that just kind of shows what we think of him, and we expect him to be a instant impact player for Georgia.
Yeah, and those snaps that he gets, it's not just going to be mop-up duty. I mean, he's going to see some meaningful minutes for Georgia early in the season. All right.
Yep.
Let's switch back to the offensive side of the ball. Offensive line class last year was loaded. Who do you think could play meaningful minutes in the trenches?
Yeah, Josh, we talked about this O-line class in 2025 as one of the best we've seen come through high school football in the last maybe 20 years. And we're going to see some of these guys pay immediate dividends as true freshman stars, which is not always the case. I think I immediately look at David Sanders, who looks to be the starting right tackle at Tennessee as a true freshman. Elite athlete, super twitchy, a guy who has always been advanced. We knew about him since he was in ninth grade. So this is a guy who's always been ahead of the curve. Expect similar at the college level. And then Michael Fasusi could be the starting left tackle at Oklahoma. If not early on, probably maybe by the end of the season. He was a guy who was a 5-star plus, like David Sanders, top 10 prospect, very physical, super strong. He's younger for the class, so he's a guy who's still kind of molding into what he's going to be physically. But there's a ton to be excited about with him, and he's drawn some like rave reviews from Oklahoma's offensive line coach, Bill Biedenbaugh, who's put a ton of players in the NFL. So I think there's a lot to be excited about with Michael Fasusi.
Absolutely. Any other names, maybe some skill guys that you think, hey, these players are going to be on the field early at their respective schools?
Yeah, there's several, and this is very hard to put together. There's still a week worth of practice, and true freshmen are always developing at different rates. But two guys who did not make the team, who I would keep an eye on, both in the state of Florida, running back Usman Kroma at Florida State. I could see him being the starter at Florida State, maybe by midseason at running back. This is a guy who's just really physically developed, huge. He is an elite tackle breaker, outstanding pass catcher out of the backfield. So he's a true 3-down back. I think if he had enrolled early at Florida State, it would be more of a slam dunk to be a week 1 starter. But I think once he gets his feet wet, he's going to take off and probably be the main ball carrier for Florida State. And then Vernell Brown, we had Dallas Wilson, a Florida receiver on this team. He is going to miss some time. He's going to miss maybe like a week or two with an injury. And Vernell Brown, also in that Florida class, he's just – I could see Vernell Brown just eating targets. This is a guy who's really effective at working the underneath and intermediate areas of the field. I think he's going to be a quarterback's best friend for DJ Lagway. So he's one who I think we could look at the end of the season and see Vernell Brown caught 30 or 40 passes.
All right, we named a bunch of freshmen, but what about your team? Who do you think is going to make an early impact? Let us know. Comment section below.